Hello everyone. It is Wednesday evening, and you know what that means? That means it is time for Sunday Night League. That's right, SNL is back with Formula X Season 6, and we are here for a very exciting championship starter. We're here at Interlagos, São Paulo, Brazil. 45 laps this race, and if you just give me 2 seconds, I will get us going. Excellent. So, today we got Matt Psycho starting on pole, the returning Season 3 champion. He's driving a Brabham this season, followed by Cthulhu in the Renault. Bunny's in the Red Bull, Alexis also in the Red Bull, so a strong qualifying for the Red Bull, locking at the second row in the first qualifying of the season. We have Bailey in the McLaren. Intulu in another Renault, Slenderfella in the Ferrari, Gasman in a Ferrari as well. Where have we seen that combo before? Just about everywhere, but we all love it. Rob on drums in the Lotus, Jim in the Lotus, different Jim than we might be used to, but certainly we're happy to have this Jim here as well. Jam is in the Benetton. Digital Blasphemy in the Williams, Aloe in the McLaren, and Speckmare in the Benetton. So we've got a couple drivers missing today, but that's all right. So just one Brabham for the day, and blanking on what the other team that only has just one Williams for the day as well, I believe. So 45 laps ahead of us, and if you just give me again 2 seconds, Alright, let's get this race underway. So, Season 3 champion on pole. Let's see what he can do. 2 lights, 3 lights, 4, 5 red lights. It's lights out, and we are racing in Brazil. It's a good start from Intulu back in the background, but Matt Psycho leads into turn 1. Bailey challenging Bunnies for third. Bunnies running wide. Cthulhu safely in P2. Matt Psycho safely in P1. Bailey up into third. Alexis into fourth. Bunnies is dropping like a stone here. He's actually on the hards. All the drivers around on softs and mediums. Let's see. Intulu, can he challenge Alexis into turn 4? He can't quite, but I tell you what, Gasman going down the inside of Bunnies. Further back, the Lotus of Jim Joker. Looks like he's losing a couple positions here. That's not optimal for him. As Bunnies tries to fight back on the inside on Gasman. Smooth defense there. But it looks like Intulu possibly making a move on Alexis. Not quite. The Renault driver has to stick behind the Red Bull for the moment. Out in front we can see Matt Psycho up there still leading, followed by Cthulhu, Bailey, Alexis, and Intulu. Bunnies, Gasman, Slenderfella, Rob on drums, Jim, Joker, Jam. Oh, and that's somebody off. That's Bunnies. Bunnies is off. Down at turn, what is this? Turn 11, I believe? So that is not optimal for the Red Bull driver as he drops almost into last. Will it be last here? Speckmare trying to get the overtake done now. These two were second and third in last season's championship, although the champion did not return. Cool Duboy not driving this season. So these are the top 2 returning drivers from last season's championship in last and second last. However, out at the front, it is who you might expect based on all the other championships we see in SNL. It's Matt Psycho starting his race off well to lap 2, and he's still in the lead. Cthulhu nearly throwing away the race right there. And turn 4, Bailey comfortably in P3, and Intulu has actually gotten ahead of Alexis, but it looks like Alexis is going to fight back down the inside of turn 6. He cannot make that move. Intulu, nice defense on the outside there, keeps his Renault in P4. Intulu is a reserve, though he is a very quick one. We've seen him many times in Formula X doing well. Gasman in 6th, solid gap either way, so Gasman is looking like the most comfortable driver gap-wise. Debatably, actually, Matt Psycho would be. Further back, though, still some close fights around. Looks like Jam is in a bit of a Lotus sandwich, or technically it would be a Benetton sandwich, given we name it after the meat, not the bread. Aloe looks like he's challenging Digital Blasphemy here, though, so down the pit straight. Can he make a move? He looks like he's going to go for the outside, into turn 1. Can he make the move? Into the Senna S. Brakes late, not late enough. Digital defends the position from the McLaren driver. Bunny's getting past Specmare. Looks like these two might be in a decent battle of their own here. And Matt Psycho, look at that gap. Into turn 6 he goes. Cthulhu only into turn 6 now. So Matt Psycho also currently sitting on the fastest lap of the race at 17.555. That is a very solid lap from the Brabham driver. Further back, we have Aloe already challenging Jim Joker after his overtake on Digital, which admittedly we missed, so I apologize for that. But Aloe looks like he wants to put on some sort of a charge here. We saw him have some very good rounds last season, including Road Atlanta, where he took pole position in his Jordan on that day, and proceeded to finish, I believe, 4th, just about missing out on the podium. That was a good race. We saw a very, very close battle for the win. We'll see if we have another one today. Can Cthulhu challenge Matt Psycho out at the front? Matt Psycho certainly being a lot more conservative with his overtake. Here on lap 4, he has well over 3/4 of his overtake. Cthulhu down to nearly just half. Bailey has about 1/3 of his overtake left, and Ntulu has a bit over 3/4. I would say it looks like Ntulu is catching Bailey. Taking a look at their previous lap times, he did gain 0.4 of a second on the last lap. We'll see if he can keep that up. Maybe it was a mistake from Bailey through turns 1 and 2. Hard to say. Either way, it does look like he is gaining. Back at the back, Specmare and Bunnies both struggling, both on the hards actually. We'll just quickly fly through the grid. Jam also on the hards, and so is Slenderfella. So those four all struggling a little bit, but I tell you what, Slenderfella is managing those hards very well. So when he inevitably gets onto some softer tires towards the end of the race, we'll see how his pace evolves. Let's see here. Matt Psycho, a 17.6. Cthulhu, a 17.4. Cthulhu gained 0.3 the previous lap as well. So Cthulhu is gaining on Matt Psycho. The Renault driver is closing in on the Brabham. On the contrary, the McLaren of Bailey is falling back slightly as, wow, what a save from Ntulu. Just getting all squirrely through turn 3. I wonder if he hit the curb too hard. That is a dangerous curb on this track, turn 3. It's the exit curb of turn 2, the apex curb of turn 3. Either way, a good save from Ntulu, as we saw him getting quite a snap of oversteer there. Alexis running in 5th pretty comfortably. The Red Bull driver in that camo Red Bull. Some fantastic liveries on this grid. You can see a Brabham, I believe, from the 70s, although I could be mistaken. I'm not going to pretend I was around at that time to have the exact memory of it. Although, certainly a mid-2000s livery on that Renault. The iconic Vodafone McLaren, being run by Bailey and Aloe. Alexis taking that camo Red Bull that Red Bull used in their 2018 launch, so never used in a real season, but a real livery nonetheless. Gasman in a 1990 Ferrari, I believe, one that Prost and Mansell drove. The Camel Lotus for the Lotus team, as that's actually a Benetton getting past a Ferrari. That is Jam making a move on Slenderfella. So Jam becoming the top running hard runner. That was a bit of a tongue twister of a sentence. I believe a 1997, I would like to say, Benetton there. Possibly 1996. Either way, that Slenderfella back through on the inside. of turn 4 through turn 5. It's a switchback for Jam though. Up to turn 6, Jam looks like he is comfortably in the position ahead in 8th. Further back slightly, Aloe trying to go down the inside of Jim Joker. Can't quite make the move there. Into turn 9, nothing doing there. Turn 11 now, 10 now. Down the inside, can Aloe make this move? Not quite, but he's right alongside Jim Joker. Jim Joker ahead for the moment. The Czech driver keeping ahead in 10th. We'll see if Aloe can get through on the pit straight. Of course, the Williams in a Canon Williams, about 1992-ish. And these two back here, Speckmayer and Bunnies, going into this season, not two that you would expect to see struggling this much, but neither of them having particularly fast lap times at the moment. Further up the grid, Matt Psycho on his most recent lap set the fastest lap of the race, a 17.040. A very quick lap from the Brabham driver, the sole Brabham in this race. Followed by Cthulhu. Cthulhu not far off, only just over 10th down on the previous lap. We'll see how he's doing on this lap. Through this split, 57.7. Didn't pause for Cthulhu's split time, so hard to judge. We'll see, based on these lap times, whether Cthulhu is gaining or losing. As we can see, Gasman here, very comfortable in 6th position. A very, very large gap back to 7th, which is Rob on drums, and a solid gap up to 5th, which is Alexis. So on our most recent lap, it's a 17.6 for Matt Psycho and a 17.2 for Cthulhu, so 4/10 gained on Matt on this lap. It's slow, it's up and down, but it seems that Cthulhu is gaining on Matt Psycho. Further back, certainly one driver's definitely gaining on the driver ahead is in Tulu, gaining on Bailey. Let's just listen into these guys for just a moment. Bridge on sound now. Let's see if Intulu can make a move down the pit straight. Alexis not too far behind, but he's not there yet. So Alexis, we'll see if he can make a move. Intulu, we'll see if he can make a move. He's going to go round the outside of the McLaren driver into turn 1. Can he make the move? Bailey breaks that little bit later, but is it going to be a switchback towards turn 4? Can Intulu maybe make the move down towards turn 4? I'm blanking on the name of the corner, but either way, it's a good overtaking zone. Down the inside, can the Renault driver make the move? Late on the brakes, but not late enough. Bailey maintains that P3 in the McLaren. Bailey, a newcomer to SNL, but certainly a good driver, as he is demonstrating right now. He has a lot of skill, and to keep behind people like Intulu and Alexis, that is a very impressive feat in your first SNL race. So Bailey doing a very good job here for McLaren. Up towards the front, it is a pretty small gap now between Cthulhu and Matt Psycho. We'll have to keep an eye on this, the two of them pulling away a lot from the rest of the field. On the contrary, these two falling away from the field quite a bit. Bunnies and Speckmare not having the race that they would want. Up in the midfield though, Jam, Digital, Slenderfella. Oh, Slenderfella actually making a mistake. Digital is going to look for something. Down the inside is Aloe. Aloe's not quite going to make that move on Digital Blasphemy yet. But Aloe using a little bit of overtake there to aid his exit. Let's see what he can do down the pit straight. it's a three-way fight. Are they going to go three wide? They're all both in the slipstream. Aloe's trying to make a move. He can't do anything. Digital Blasphemy, though, does do something. He goes down the inside of Slenderfella, and I tell you what, Aloe's looking at the same thing. Oh, a bit of contact there. No damage to either driver's car. That's a good sign. The McLaren still wanting to make the move on the Ferrari, I would imagine, though. Aloe looks like he might have been a bit faster than Digital Blasphemy even, so I'm sure he'll want to get past Slenderfella and chase after Digital in just a moment, as Slenderfella and Aloe both running wide there. Slenderfella really struggling on the traction, though. Down the inside towards turn 6, Aloe tries to make the move, but he has to be patient. He can't make the move quite yet. Jim Joker now looking at Aloe. You can see him in the mirrors there in that Lotus. Back up to the front, though. Cthulhu is right on the back of Matt Psycho on that last lap, another 0.2 of a second gained. Can Cthulhu, in his nice blue and yellow Renault, can he catch up to Matt Psycho and make the overtake? Matt will be pushing very hard, trying to keep this position, and I've just realized I don't even have the YouTube stream up. I apologize if there's been any comments. I will check that now. There doesn't appear to have been. So, Matt Psycho in the lead, followed by Cthulhu. A while back, oh, I've missed that, but something's happened to Bailey because he has fallen behind both Alexis and Cthulhu. So both Renaults on the podium as it stands, Alexis up to 4th. Red Bull and Renault will be very happy with this, but McLaren a little bit disappointed, I would imagine. Gasman, I tell you what, he's actually caught up to this group ahead of him. We've seen some exceptional pace from him last season, with some stunning laps done at Alsace last season. Towards the end of the season, we saw Bunnies winning that race. Bunnies, however, down with Speckmare. Oh, looks like Bunnies might have spun, actually. That is not a good sign. Tell you what, I said with Speckmare, but Speckmare, interesting strategy decision, already in the pits. So Speckmare is putting on the soft tires. He was on the hards before. We'll see how his pace is on the softs now, though, now that he has fresh air and a fresh set of softs. Full tank of fuel as well. Bunnies, though, as I said, won Alsace, won a few races last season, not looking like he's going to do that today. As we also see Jam in the pits, so I wonder if the Benettons discussing strategy, Jam just going a lap further than Speckmare. Both starting on the hards. If Speckmare is anything to go by, Jam we could expect to see putting on the softs. As I tell you what, I think it's time to explain the lights on the air intake above the drivers' heads. So as you can see here, Jim Joker has a red light above his head. That means that he has less than a quarter of his overtake left. Slenderfella, however, has more than 3/4 of his overtake left, meaning he has that green light above his head. So a green light signifies 25% or more of your overtake remaining, whereas red signifies less than 25% remaining, and there will be no light above the head if no overtake is remaining. So we can expect to see no light above the drivers' heads later on in the race. Bailey also with a red light, and it's important to note as well that the lights flash while you're using them. So we'll see if we can catch Cthulhu, for example, using his overtake to catch up to Matt Psycho out of Junsao later in this lap. Junsao, of course, being the last, proper corner on this track. We've seen some very, very important moments there. For example, Hamilton taking his first World Championship away from Felipe Massa in 2008 with an overtake on Timo Glock. We'll see Cthulhu does use a bit of overtake, but we weren't able to catch a look at the lights, unfortunately. We will see further back the grid. We'll just hope to catch that later, as it looks like that's Speckmare, or yes, that is Speckmare currently being lapped, showing the blue flags by Alexis. Ducks out of the way. Good sportsmanship from Speckmare there. Jam as well is lapped, I believe. He is lapped, yes, but he is not in the way. Bailey taking his first pit stop, 10% of his fuel left, going off the softs. That is certainly much lower than seemingly any other driver on the grid, so it's always interesting to identify different drivers' strengths and weaknesses. It seems that fuel may be a struggle for Bailey throughout the season, but very good pace in his first stint from Bailey. We'll see if he can keep that up throughout the rest of the race and even the rest of the season. We of course have a 5-round championship this season, starting off here in Interlagos, going to Spain, Barcelona next week, followed by the Daytona Road Course, and then Monza, and last but not least, Mount Panorama, which I can confirm from having tested it out will be a huge challenge to all the drivers. Around somewhere like Brazil, we get to see the raw pace of these drivers. We see them going flat out every lap. Somewhere like the last round of the season, Mount Panorama will be a true test of skill for who can keep the car going forwards, not just going forwards the fastest. But at the moment, going forwards the fastest, it looks like Cthulhu and Matt Psycho are those two very far out in front of Cthulhu's teammate, as there's a yellow flag. I can't tell who it's from. It might have been one of the Benettons. They're more or less in the right sector. Or perhaps Bailey or Bunnies. Probably not Bunnies. I think he's a little bit too far out in front for it to have been from him. So Cthulhu here, right on the back of Matt. These two very close together, but not close enough for Cthulhu to make an overtake yet. So as we can see, Cthulhu now has that red light above the driver's head, so he's used more than 75% of his overtake already. Meanwhile, Matt still has more than 75% of his overtake left. So Matt certainly with a tactical advantage if the two of these drivers battle at all. The Spaniard and the Briton. Who will come out on top? We await to see. Although it's a very diverse podium at the moment, as we have a man from Britain, a man from Spain, and a Portuguese guy as well. That's Matt, Cthulhu, and Intulu on the podium. As we see some position change here, that's Rob on drums and Digital Blasphemy changing position. It's going to be a three-way battle here, as it's three wide. Aloe on the inside of both of them. Aloe's through on both Digital Blasphemy and Rob on drums. Digital looked like he wanted to go down the inside. Rob on drums clipping the grass into turn 1. So it's Digital in between these two now. Will Digital be able to drive up to the back of Aloe and make an overtake? It looks like Aloe's pulling away quite quickly here. Although Digital has more fuel. Digital is known for pulling off some pretty wacky strategies, although so is Rob on drums. So either of these two, I would not be surprised to see pulling off some incredible tire saving or some incredible fuel saving. And I tell you what, that is some pretty solid tire saving from Digital Blasphemy there, seeing those softs in that condition. Compared to the rest of the grid, certainly these top three have worn their softs out a lot more than the group behind. So Intulu, not really pulling away from Alexis as much as he would presumably like. We can see Alexis here, the driver camera of the Red Bull, looking up at the sky. Certainly doesn't look like it's going to rain. That would be because there's no chance of rain at Interlagos, unfortunately. And that is something that is unfortunate about this game, especially given how often it does rain at Interlagos when F1 comes here. But it is a shame, but it is the reality of this game. So, looking up to the front again, we can see Cthulhu, burning out a lot of overtake. He's quite close to the back of Matt Psycho now. I feel that he's probably a little bit closer than he has been on most other laps. We'll see. I think he's too far back to go for a move into turn 4, barring any small mistakes from Matt Psycho. We'll see if he can pull anything off, though. It will be difficult, but it would be great to see attempt at an overtake here. Nothing doing yet into turn 4, Intulu into turn 1, still comfortably ahead of Alexis, who has a very good gap back to Gasman. Digital Blasphemy in 6th, so he has gotten back ahead of Aloe. We'll see if Aloe can make any moves, though. I would imagine he'll want to overtake Digital Blasphemy here. Try to build up a bit of speed here, get in tow. Can he make any moves? No, Digital Blasphemy actually pulling into the pits, and that's interesting because he has nearly a quarter of his fuel left and a lot of tire left. So Digital on his softs pitting, Rob on his mediums, same with Jim Joker, so I wonder if Rob and Jim Joker might be on the same strategy. They are part of the same team, so it wouldn't be overly surprising to see them exchanging strategies. As we can see here, 2 people left on the hards from the start, Bunnies and Slenderfella, in the Red Bull and the Ferrari respectively. As our leaders are in, Matt Psycho into the pits, 3% of his fuel left. He's into the pits, surely changing tires. He does. I would imagine same with Cthulhu. Yes, same with Cthulhu. So Cthulhu will get a very, very slight jump on Matt Psycho here, I would imagine. The refuel rate is painfully slow for these drivers, but very, very interesting for strategy. It is a 3 liter per second refuel rate. So these drivers, they'll be hoping to get out of the pits as soon as they can. Intulu has carried on, so Intulu takes the race lead temporarily. Let's see, Cthulhu out of the pits, so Cthulhu has jumped Matt Psycho. We have a new net race leader as well as a new actual race leader. We've got Intulu in the on-track race lead, but a net race lead, that goes to Cthulhu at the moment as the Renault driver has a very good gap back to Matt Psycho. So we'll see. It looks like perhaps the Renault driver didn't quite fuel all the way up to full percentage. We'll have to see how that plays out, as that Gasman puts on the hard tires. So Gasman, based on what we saw from Slenderfella and Bunnies, and as well as Jam and Specmayor, really, we'll see how Gasman fares on those hards. It will not be an easy task for him. Bunnies, speaking of, is running very low on fuel at the moment. Surely we'll see him into the pits at the end of this lap. Same goes with Intulu, although he's just started another lap. So Intulu pushing this set of softs very far. We'll see how that pans out. Could be very beneficial strategy-wise. As Aloe yet to pit, I would imagine he'll pit at the end of this lap, though he might go 1 lap further. It's possible. Let's see. Into the pits goes Aloe. He does pit. We'll see as Bunnies and Alexis, although Bunnies needing to pit, Alexis is well ahead of him. The teammates not actually as close as they appear for that moment. 0% of his fuel left. Bunnies is into the pits on hards. That is very little fuel left. Some drivers stretching their fuel out very far here. Let's look further back. Digital getting some blue flags. That'll be Intulu up there. Intulu will surely be into the pits here. Let's just ride on board with him for just a moment before he goes into the pits. They're into the pits. So back up to the front of the field. It's going to be a different Renault in the lead in just a moment. The number 81, it's Cthulhu, on his way to set the fastest lap of the race. Matt Psycho, on the other hand, actually losing out to his fastest lap of the race. So these two, both of them burning up a second set of softs, so it'll be interesting to see. That may be very good strategy-wise today, but that might hurt them later on in the season, especially if these two go on to get podium results today, where they could lose some of their softest tires to harder tires throughout the rest of the season. These two taking a gamble by going with 2 sets of softs for today, especially with this good pace. further back, tell you what, Gasman is actually getting quite close to Alexis, and there's Alexis, and Intulu. Intulu coming out of the pits. Alexis is going to be ahead of Intulu. Where is Gasman going to be in relation to Cthulhu, though? Or Intulu, sorry. He's right there. He's right next to him. It's the Ferrari versus the Renault. Can he make the move round the outside? It's going to be cold tires for Intulu, and he can't do anything about Gasman. But Gasman runs wide on those hard tires. And so Intulu back through into fourth. Intulu will be hoping to catch up to Alexis and take third place back. He was there earlier, but at the moment he's behind now. So we'll see Alexis has a lot less fuel than Intulu. We'll see how that plays out. Further back, still a humongous gap between Gasman and the group behind. Bailey leading that group currently on the mediums. So Bailey is going to show us how those mediums are doing around Interlagos today. Jam right behind on softs. You'd imagine Jam might be catching up. As we look here, Speckmere and Bunnies close together again. And Bunnies has used a bit of overtake now. I noticed earlier he hadn't used any. Forgot to mention it, but I did notice that. He now has used a little bit, so he is probably the most conservative with his overtake today. As here's our first example of someone who has no overtake left. You can see that light above the driver's head is off. No red, no green, just nothing, really. So that shows us that this driver has used up all of his overtake. We are almost halfway through the race, but we'll see how that plays out. Debatably, depending on who you ask, that's a good strategic decision. Depending on who you ask, that's a bad strategic decision. It really depends on the driver's racing style. So nothing really to say about that for Jim Joker. As we can say, though, that is a nice move from SNL Jam through on the inside of turn 6. What a move. Defends the inside as Bailey wanted to go down the inside of turn 8. Through 9 now. We'll see Jam is comfortably ahead of Bailey. Bailey's medium's not able to keep up with the softs of the Benetton. What can these two do? Trying to pull further away from Digital Blastermate. Digital on fresh softs as well. About half of his fuel tank left. As we can see, Bunnies has overtaken and gotten well past Speckmere. We'll see, he looks quite close to Rob on drums here, especially given how much overtake he's using. That is a lot of overtake. I said he was being conservative on it earlier. He is not being conservative with his overtake right now. He is charging up, and he sets the fastest lap of the race with that. Is he going to go down the inside of Rob on drums even? He does. That car looked on rails through turn 1. So the Red Bull driver setting the fastest lap of the race and pulling ahead. Let's see, Cthulhu and Matt here, very close together. Can Matt do anything to overtake Cthulhu? As Matt pulling a similar strategy to Bunnies down that straight, using lots of overtake most of the way down. He's right on the back of Cthulhu, sets a 16.8. That is an exceptional lap from Matt Psycho. The Brabham driver doing very well for himself today. Right behind Cthulhu. We'll see, can he make the overtake on Cthulhu? He gained 6/10 of a second last lap. Down towards turn 4, he's looking at it, but we know he's too far back. That wouldn't have been a viable move. Matt Psycho thinking better of it, staying behind Cthulhu for the moment. We'll see, perhaps out of Junsao, he'll try to get a run on this lap. We are on lap 24 here. We're more than halfway through this race, but we are very close between our top two. No way to say who will win this race between the two of them, although it does seem like Alexis, Intulu, Gasman, and the group behind would have a very difficult time taking the lead themselves. Coming up to Junsao now, turn 12, the last braking point of this track. What kind of a line does Matt take? It's a normal apex. Can he charge up along here? Looks like Cthulhu's going to be safe for this lap, but I'll tell you what, Cthulhu is out of overtake. So Cthulhu has no overtake left to use. Matt Psycho has about half his tank. So Matt will surely be faster than Cthulhu here in a battling context. We'll see how that plays out. I'm sure it'll pay dividends to Matt to have saved up his overtake. Slender fella here. A very good start to the race for him. He was on hards, but still doing quite well to keep par with the midfield, unlike Speckmare and Bunnies, but unfortunately falling much further back by now. Jim Joker, right on the back of a Lowy. The Lotus driver will surely want to overtake that McLaren, and Speckmare also looking at perhaps overtaking the Lotus himself. Rob on drums not too far ahead as Bunnies going for the move on Digital Blasphemy round the outside into turn 1. Looked like he might have even had that done before the braking zone. So Bunnies flying along now, low 17s for the past 4 laps in a row. That's good for him. 139 and a 134, those will presumably be his pit laps. As we look up to see Bailey on the mediums, Bunnies on the softs. I would imagine we'll see Bunnies catching and passing Bailey pretty soon. This is a lot more reminiscent of the Bunnies we saw last season as Cthulhu and Matt very close together. Matt on the back of Cthulhu. Is he going to try and get a run down to turn 4? He is. He's right in the slipstream. He's going to pull to the inside. Cthulhu defends to the inside. Matt onto the grass. Still going for it anyways, though, down the inside into turn 4. He tries to brake late. Cthulhu brakes later, but he stays on the inside, holding his line through turn 5. Cthulhu has to back out. Can Cthulhu make a move into turn 6 on the inside? Cthulhu fights it out. There's a bit of contact, but Matt Psycho stays ahead. No one's spinning. Matt Psycho through turn 7 and 8 now. 8, he goes wide through 8. Can Cthulhu pull a switchback through 9 even? No, he can't. So Matt is our new race leader. Matt into the lead, but it's not over yet. These two can still battle it out through Junsao and down the main straight up to the Senna S. Cthulhu, is he going to try and make a run on Matt Psycho now? He doesn't have any overtake. Is Matt Psycho going to use any overtake to defend? Doesn't look like he is. Maybe he thinks he's safe from Cthulhu for the moment. Cthulhu sitting in the slipstream of the Brabham. Renault driver biding his time. He's not going to make a move quite yet from the looks of it. The Spaniard biding his time through turn 4. Will it be possible? Has to make a very minor lift through turn 2 in that dirty air. Let's see. The Brabham moves to the left. Renault moves to the right. He's going to try and go round the outside. Matt Psycho closes the door a little bit. And Cthulhu doesn't go for the move yet. He couldn't brake late enough. And I tell you what, that is an incredible new fastest lap from Alexis. Alexis setting that a couple laps ago. I've never seen a driver in the 15s here. A 15.9. That is amazing from Alexis. That is a very nice lap. So Cthulhu, looking at the inside, maybe not the optimal line there, and it looks like Matt Psycho is pulling away from the Renault driver. This Brabham has been fast all day. He's now really making use of it out in front. He's going to try and pull away from Cthulhu. Let's see what kind of a lap time he sets this lap in comparison to Cthulhu. Matt Psycho, a 117.3. Cthulhu, a 117.8. So Cthulhu losing around about half a second there. Not quite, but almost half a second there to Cthulhu. That is half a second, isn't it? It is half a second. My bad. That is half a second. As we look further up the grid, I was right, Bunnies has gotten past Bailey, and I tell you what, Digital Blasphemy is going to be looking at doing the same now. Bunnies coming up to jam, but Bunny's extremely low on fuel, so he must not have fueled up very much for this stint, because I think he only pitted about 10 odd laps ago. So Bunnies into the pits, and Jam stays safe from the charging Red Bull. Looking further back, it looks like Digital's going to go for a move on Bailey, because go inside, he goes inside. And he's through before the braking zone, so oh my god, that is a very late braking from Bailey. A fantastic attempt at some defense there, but those mediums just not providing him the grip he needs to get back ahead. As Digital actually running a little bit wide there, but doesn't quite give an opportunity to Bailey. Bailey's a bit too far back to be making a move. So Speckmare and Bunny's both into the pits now. Slender Fella, for the time being, goes back ahead of them. We'll see if that remains. I'm not sure how that'll pan out between those few drivers in terms of strategy. As Cthulhu, in second, he's just set a personal best lap, so he's clawed back 2/10 on that Psycho in the past lap. We'll see if he can do a little bit more, gain some more time on the Brabham driver. But I would imagine if it gets to be a chaotic time in the race, and if Matt is starting to feel pressured too much, I would not be surprised to see the Brabham using up some of his overtake, given Cthulhu has none left. Alexis, on the other hand, does have a little bit left. That Red Bull is in the red for their overtake. They've still got some left. Ntulu is not... Well, it looks like Ntulu's gaining some laps, but not all laps. Not many laps, actually. Looks like Alexis is pulling away from that Renault. He'll be trying to catch the other one, but I don't think he'll be able to. As Cthulhu, in the slipstream of Matt Psycho. We'll see, can he do anything here? A 17.1 for Cthulhu, a 16.9 for Matt Psycho. So Matt pulling away 0.2 of a second there. So nothing Cthulhu can do right now. As Jams is in the pits now. We'll see where does Bunnies come out in comparison to Jam, and where does Speckmare come out in comparison to Jam. Bunnies, who was right behind Jam when he went into the pits, looks like he's going to come out ahead of Jam. As, yeah, that looks like Jam's just going to be a little bit behind Bunnies, but not far. Speckmare will not be ahead of Jam, but he won't be far off. As that is Jim Joker ahead of Aloe. I believe he's overtaken Aloe since the last time we looked at these two. But you know what? Aloe is right on the back of him. And let's just listen to him as he presumably tries to make an overtake. I intended to say line up and overtake, and that is what he's tried to do, but it hasn't quite worked out for him. He'll still need to keep pushing if he's to catch Jim Joker in the next few laps. Bailey into the pits, 1% of fuel left. As that is Jam with blue flags. Looking back, it appears to be for a Renault, so that will be Ntulu. This top group still needing to pit another time, I would imagine. They don't have the fuel to go to the end. Somebody like Bunnies, I think would have the fuel to go to the end. 15 laps with that much fuel, that sounds viable. We'll see. It looks like Jam and Speckmare are also comfortably able to do that. Anybody who pits from here on out can definitely make the end on their fuel, I would think. As Cthulhu, a lot closer to Matt on this lap. We'll see, can he look at a move down towards turn 1, the Senna S. Through turn 12 now. Let's see how these two drivers do. Both of them running a bit wide, and I tell you what, Cthulhu getting a bit of oversteer. Now I say they were running a bit wide, that is optimal. They want to extend the track as much as they can on exit. This is a very, very long straight, so it's always important to get the best run you can down here. Cthulhu, looking down the inside of Matt, actually. He was a little bit too far back, but he was looking at it. And why don't we go up and look at Aloe and Jim Joker, because they are a little bit closer. It looks like Aloe's going to go down the inside into turn 4 on Jim Joker. The McLaren through on the Lotus, and further back, not back, but behind them on track. As we can see, two battles here. It's Cthulhu's going to go round the outside of Matt. Matt defends with some overtake. Oh my, what a switchback! What a move from Cthulhu through turns 7 and 8, 6 and 7. That is an unbelievable move. What a move! Matt looked like he had it with the defense, ran just that little bit wide, and Cthulhu capitalized on it brilliantly. What a move! That was exceptional. Lowy now with blue flags. Is he going to move out of the way of this top two? Cthulhu, Matt. Cthulhu seems to be through on Aloy. Aloy running very wide, giving Matt a chance to overtake as well, I would assume. Matt in the slipstream. Matt's going to make use of the slipstream of Aloy and of Cthulhu now. Matt can't make a move into turn 1, but he is through on Aloy. Aloy will not be thrilled about that, but Jim Joker has pitted, so it's not a huge deal in terms of position loss. As we see now, Cthulhu in the lead with an exceptional move to put him there. We'll see what Matt Psycho can do. Alexis still a while behind, but not setting bad lap times, must be said. As we look towards the back of the grid, Jam struggling back here, it must be said, but looks like he's managing. As we can see Intulu here, followed by Intulu. Who's close to Intulu? Not somebody on his lap. It's Speckmare and Jam? Yes, okay. Speckmare and Jam on either side of Intulu, although these two Benettons are lapped cars, as I'd like to point out a very Schumacher-esque helmet from Speckmare. I don't know if it's meant to be a Schumacher replica, or if it just looks similar, sort of a tribute. I can't really say. I can't get a good enough look at it to say for certain. Speckmare, if you're watching, I'd love for you to tell us if it's a tribute or a replica or just a coincidental look-alike. Back up to the front though, Matt not far off of Cthulhu. I don't think going into this race, I'm not sure the Brabham driver was expecting quite this much of a challenge. I don't think he thought he was going to run away with it. This is a very quick grid, but I don't know that he was expecting quite this much of a challenge. It's Slenderfella back up to 7th. We noticed him in last not too long ago, but setting some good laps like an 18.3. The Ferrari driver is up to 7th. It's hard to say how everything will play out for everyone, just based on strategy. I would imagine everyone who pits now, so Aloy, for example, this is his last pit stop. It wouldn't really make sense for anybody to be doing another pit stop. The pit stops are very slow, and I would imagine Digital Blasphemy is probably the limit of how little fuel you can get by with for these drivers. And he seems a little bit low to me, but I think he'll manage. As we look further up the grid, Slenderfella then will likely need to pit again. Gasman looks like he's good to the end of the race on these mediums. So we'll see how he manages through turn 3. That is a beautiful Ferrari, it must be said. A couple legends who drove that car, Mansell and Prost. Now we've got a couple more legends driving it, Gasman and Slenderfella. Slenderfella, more a legend in the making. New to SNL, of course. Gasman, a legend of SNL, though. Always seems to be around the Ferraris. Season 4 Ferrari team principal. I believe they won the Constructors' Championship in Season 4 of Formula X. I could be mistaken about that, but I believe they did. That was one good season. Unfortunately, many of the top drivers from that season not currently here. Really, the only one of those drivers to be here today is Matt Psycho. Although Intulu did very well back in Season 4, but Season 4 was an entire other game. As Evening Bunnies says, Matt Sykes. Evening, Matt. Good to see you in the chat. As thought there was an overtake about to be done there for a moment, but it is Intulu and a lapped car. Speaking of overtakes, though, it doesn't look like Matt is close enough to Cthulhu to make an overtake yet. So with 9 laps left, it's looking good for the Renault driver. That said, Matt's still being careful on his overtake. Still has that green light above his head, while Cthulhu has no light at all. So between the two of them, it's hard to say how things will go. Certainly, Matt does have more overtake. but he also has a bit more fuel. So we saw Cthulhu getting ahead at the beginning of this stint by not fueling up quite to the maximum. We'll see these two drivers, they might go another lap for Matt. It's hard to say. I would imagine they'll both pit this lap. Certainly Cthulhu will have to, though. So Cthulhu, into the pits. Matt Psycho stays out for another lap. So Matt Psycho, he's gonna try and overcut Cthulhu. We'll see how that works out. It does mean he'll have to fuel a little bit less when he pits, and with such a slow refuel rate, it's possible that that will pay dividends. We'll see the Red Bull driver now, Alexis, does he go into the pits? The Spaniard does not follow his countryman into the pits. In Tulu, I can't see pitting for another few laps. He has almost a quarter of his fuel left. It's not going to be enough to get him to the end, but it'll be enough to get him a little bit of a distance. As that is Bunny's and Lexus, I believe. Yeah, so not a battle there, but the two Red Bulls racing in formation here, both with the red light above their heads. So these two just casually flying along on different laps, but still very close together. This will not have been the opening round Bunnies will have expected, though. Bunnies having won 3 of the last 4 Formula X races, all of which were last season, but the past 4 being all in Season 5 Suzuka, Road Atlanta, Alsace, and Austria. Bunnies having won Road Atlanta, Alsace, and Austria at Spielberg Red Bull Ring, but not a round worthy of a win today for the Canadian. But I'll tell you what, his teammate Alexis is doing a very good job. It doesn't look like he'll win, but it looks like a podium might be on the cards for him. It looks like Intulu will take the lead once again. He will have to pit again, though. This will not be a final lead. This is just a temporary lead, I would imagine, as Matt Psycho only fueling up to 47%. It looks like he's out ahead of Cthulhu fully. Cthulhu on hards, Matt on mediums, so Matt Psycho has a huge advantage on this stint. The hards have proven to be very difficult for some drivers already. Matt using overtake to just extend that advantage ahead of Cthulhu. And I'll tell you what, we've got a new net race leader. It is Matt Psycho back out in front, and he's on mediums compared to Cthulhu's hards, and Alexis's hards as well. So Matt is looking in a very good position for this race. I specify this race, though, as this may be a difficult strategy to pull off in the long run. 5 rounds and a lot of hard tires will be used in the remaining 4. So, a dangerous strategy for the Brabham driver. We'll see how it goes for Matt Psycho throughout the rest of the season, provided he gets a podium this race. Provided he wins, he will lose one of his softest qualifying tires. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the qualifying on the streams, but it is a one-shot qualifying. One driver after another, reverse championship order or random selection in this in today's round. So the Brabham driver, if he goes on to win this race, will be the last man to do his qualifying lap next round. But we'll see how it goes. Don't want to speak too soon. Commentator's personal. Looking further up the grid, the two Benettons very close together. Let's look at this battle between Jam and Speckmare as a blue flag behind. Not sure who for. Looks to be... it looks to be Intulu. So Intulu, right behind these two Benettons. Intulu does need to pit again. But, oh, actually, I tell you what, Matt isn't that far off of Intulu, so Intulu will be falling much further behind that top 2 when he finally takes his pit stop. Oh, is Jam spinning off there? What's going on here as Jam, ooh, just getting in the way of Cthulhu a little bit. So that looked unlucky, both of them trying to go to the outside both trying to avoid one another. That is not what you want to see. Looked like a bit of bad luck, though I admit I did not have the best angle. So a bit of damage for both drivers. Cthulhu wasn't looking like he had brilliant chances to get Matt anyways, but that will not help him. So Matt on the mediums in the chat saying he was very glad to see Cthulhu on hards, and I can see why. Those mediums, they are so much better than the hards. So Matt, yeah, certainly a tire advantage on the last stint gave him, looked like a bit of oversteer there as we have a yellow flag. Not quite sure who it's for. As, Bunnies has damage, so the yellow flag was presumably for him. Crashing in that middle sector, I would imagine. Speckmare not too far off of him, and I tell you what, I think Speckmare was a lot further away just a minute ago. So definitely a mistake there for Bunnies, causing that yellow flag. Let's just go back to Rob on drums for a moment and enjoy this sunset. As Ntulu goes into the pits, and well timed for me to check out Rob on drums' car as he comes into the chat and says, "Hello, bunnies. The battle with Jam is about to get warm." So looks like Rob getting close to Jam. Looks like he's going to be battling him very soon. Jam on slightly more worn softs. These two will be going at it tooth and nail, I would imagine. They may not be fighting for too many points, but every point counts, and every driver wants every point that they can get. So these two very close together now, the Lotus and the Benetton, two brilliant liveries. I mean, really every livery on this grid is so brilliant. As Speckmare also, as Bunnies has run out of overtake, so Bunnies has no overtake left. Speckmare in the green even. So a few more midfield battles to watch for now. It does look like Matt Psycho is comfortable ahead of Cthulhu. Lexus and Ntulu are a little ways apart. Gasman quite far behind. Look further back. Doesn't look like Rob is going to make a move yet. In fact, falling away from Jam a tiny bit, it looked like. A big snap of oversteer from Bunnies. Good save, but it gives a very good opportunity to Speckmare. Speckmare on... Speckmare... Jeez, I cannot find the right person. Speckmare on very worn softs, Bunnies on even more worn softs. So the Benetton, not in a great position tire-wise, but certainly in a better one. These two will be fighting it out for 6th position. Down the inside goes Speckmare. Can he make the move? Bunnies gets the run on the outside. He maintains the position for the moment. Into Junsao. Speckmare will presumably be trying to line up a run down towards the Senna S. Down the long straight now. What can Speckmare do? Looking further back. Rob on drums in the wall. Oh dear. Not quite sure what's happened there. I tell you what, why don't we go back? We haven't done that yet this race. So 10 seconds back as Rob, just loops it into the wall. Very unfortunate for the American. Jam right on the back of, I think that is Cthulhu, actually. Yeah, so Cthulhu, lap ahead of Speckmare. Nothing he can do on Bunnies yet, but he's not far behind. Let's see, Digital and... no, Digital is quite a ways ahead of Jam. I keep forgetting the car ahead of Jam is the lap ahead of him. As Bunnies is coming under pressure from Speckmare. Speckmare going around the outside. Bunnies defends on the inside. Brakes a little bit late. Runs wide onto the grass. Surprising that he was able to keep it going with his foot in it. For the majority of it. Good times, says Rob on drums as he watches himself spin. Unfortunate moment for the American. We'll see Jam here just driving a nice race. I seriously keep forgetting that Renault is the lap ahead of him. As Bunny's, well, it looks like he's going to be lapped by Matt Psycho here. Not the result Bunnies will want. But I tell you what, it just goes to show how incredibly fast that top two has been this race. Matt Psycho lapping everyone up to 7th at the moment. He's going to lap 7th soon from the looks of it. Bunny's about to start lap 43. Matt about to start lap 44. So as this race is certainly coming to an end, we'll see, does Bunnies get lapped, and what are some close battles on track? Intulu there, Gasman, Specmare, Bunnies, Digital, Jam, Rob and Slenderfella are quite close together, as unfortunately they seem to be the only people particularly close on track. The Lotus and the Ferrari in the sunset, how good does that look? Just that golden glow from the sunset, getting some incredible shots here, to the point where I almost just want to turn off all the on-screen display and just watch these cars driving around. But it's important to have some good info up. Rob on drums in 10th. Tell you what I will do. Just for the time being, let's just display this, just to give us a little bit of a better view of what's going on. As Slenderfella right behind Rob. Ooh, Rob touching the grass, nearly throwing it away in the same place again. Slenderfella down the inside. Can he make the move on Rob? Both drivers carrying a lot of speed through turn 10, through 11 now, into 12. Slenderfella on the outside. Hopefully for him, this will lead to a good run down the straight. Hopefully for Rob, it won't. We'll see. Can the Ferrari make the move on the Lotus here? The Lotus touching the grass a little bit. That won't help his straight line speed. Time for Slenderfella to make a move. Left, right, goes right. Round the outside goes Slenderfella. Can he make the move? He can't. Rob breaks that little bit later. Rob, careful through turn 2 and 3. Don't want to hit the curb too hard. He's got a bit of a snap there. As Rob is safe for the moment. Can Slenderfella go round the outside into turn 4? Can he make the move? He can't quite. He switches to the inside. Can he get the run? Not quite. I'm just going to quickly check where Matt is. He is there. Good to know. So Slenderfella right behind Rob here through turn 6 and 7 now. Into 8. Can he make a move? He can't yet. As I think it's time we look at Matt. Let's put this back on for the moment. Display all. So Matt, it's been a brilliant race. He's come from pole in the Brabham. It's been a great battle. He weaves, he crosses the line, and Matt wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. Bunnies comes across the line in 7th. But Matt, what a win. What an exceptional drive. Cthulhu is going to take 2nd now. Digi comes across the line in 8th. We can see, I think, Jam there. And let's go back, see what's going on in this battle with Slenderfella and Rob. Rob has fallen behind. He can't get that move, which actually means Slenderfella must have made the move somewhere. So that's 10th for Slenderfella. A fantastic debut for the Ferrari driver. Further up the grid, let's see. Alexis comes home in 3rd in the Red Bull. They'll be very pleased with that result. It's Renault with 4th and 2nd. Intulu takes 4th. As I think that was Bailey crossing the line, possibly. Or Lowe. Yeah, that was Bailey. Gasman crossing the line now. As we can see just a line of cars going from turn 5 to turn 1. Specmare will be the last to cross the line. Burning up some overtake down the final straight. Is he going to go for a fastest lap attempt here? I would love to see that. I am going to pause it just before he crosses the line. I don't want the replay to close itself. And there we go. There we have it. This is our final result. So, Matt Psycho takes the race win in Brazil. The first race of the season on return to Formula X. The last time we saw him in Formula X was Season 4, when he fought for the championship with Wolfbane. He didn't get it that time. He's certainly put his name in the battle for the championship this time, though. We'll see if he can take it come the end of the season in the Brabham. The only Brabham for today, however, I do have news. which is that our 4th place finisher, Intulu, will be taking the second Brabham for the rest of the season. Intulu was driving the Renault as a reserve today, but he will be stepping up to full-time with Brabham for the remainder of the season. So it's good news to hear about Intulu, a fantastic driver, and we will look forward to some good results from him, and that will certainly help put Brabham in the team's championship fight. Cthulhu in second, a great race from him, an unfortunate bit of contact, as well as a perhaps worse strategy than Matt, having to use the hards at the end of the race instead of the mediums. But Cthulhu, nonetheless, takes second place, followed by his fellow Spaniard. In the Red Bull, it is Alexis who comes third. A fantastic race for the Red Bull driver in that camo livery. Followed by, of course, I mentioned Intulu, the Renault driver. A good race from him. Just a reserve, but he's going to be full-time with Brabham now. 5th goes to Ferrari's Gasman. A great result for him. 6th is Speckmayer in the Benetton. Not a great start to the race, but a good end to it for him. Same goes for Bunnies. Both of those two right at the back of the field to begin with. And I tell you what, look at that front left of Bunnies. That is not a healthy-looking tire. Compared to Speckmayer, who I believe pitted at more or less the same time, that is an absolutely dead set of tires. The Canadian, not necessarily getting the result he'd want, but a good comeback from his opening stint. Digital Blast for me in 8th. Good result for him. Jam in the Benetton, 9th. 10th is Slenderfella, a great debut for the Ferrari driver. Rob on drums sharing a great battle with him, taking 11th place. Aloe in 12th. 13th goes to Jim Joker, and Bailey comes 14th. So a big thank you to all the drivers who drove, and all of them finished the race as well, which was fantastic to see. No internet issues, no rage quits. Always love to see that. Thank you. So again, thank you to all of the drivers who raced, and thank you to everyone who watched the stream as well. Mega Race with Cthulhu, says Matt. Good job on comms, says Matt as well. Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to commentate on, and I should just put it out there. I intend to do commentary at about 8-ish p.m. On Mondays, 8 p.m. British time, I should say. On Mondays from here on out. Had a bit of a problem on Monday, so I had to stream today, and then had a busy schedule, so also had to stream a little bit earlier than usual today. So if you check in next week on Monday at about 7:30, 8 p.m. British time, you should catch the stream. But yeah, had a lot of fun. Good job, mate, on comms, says Mark. Appreciate that as well. This has been SNL Round 1 of Season 6 of Formula X. Thank you to everybody who watched. Really appreciate it. It has been good fun. And I wish you an excellent afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you may be in the world. Have a great week. We'll catch you next time.